What do we got? Your Credit Matters segment today being brought to you by creditsanitizer.com. Thanks, Josh, for that cue. You got to love it. Your Credit Matters, brought to you by creditsanitizer.com. Our friends over at Blue Water Credit, they do a great job for the families that we're sending over there to help get your credit cleaned up. And I'm going to suggest there's going to be a whole lot of folks that need their credit cleaned in the very near future. Why? Because, as I mentioned, I think in the B block, there's a whole lot of folks that are having challenges and building up tremendous amounts of debt. Just throw that out there for you. Our friends at Blue Water Credit, they do a wonderful, wonderful job dealing with this. So let's talk about buy now, pay later plans, what you need to know. Ever wonder how buy now, pay later plans work? Today we're going to unravel the mystery and help you make informed decisions. Let's go. Right here, RonSiegelRadio.com, your home for straight talk about real estate, finance, and everything in between. Today we're going to talk about something that's been buzzing in the retail world. Buy now, pay later plans. Intrigued? Here we go. What exactly is a buy now, pay later? It's a payment option that allows you to purchase immediately but spread the cost over time. Sound great, right? But like all financial decisions, it's important to understand the details. There are some clear benefits to these plans. They're convenient, often interest-free, and can help you afford larger purchases. But remember, there's no such thing as free money. Missed payments can lead to late fees, and these plans can potentially impact your credit score. If you're considering buy now, pay later, here are some tips. Always, always, always read the fine print. Make sure you can afford the payments and consider the impact on your credit. Remember, it's all about making informed decisions. So to recap, buy now, pay later can be a useful tool when used responsibly. It's all about understanding the terms and making sure it fits into your budget. Remember, you've got the budgeting tool, rsrmoney.com. So when you're going and doing these things, the issue becomes very simple. The institution is actually not hoping, but they're counting on the fact that you don't make your payment on time. They're counting on the fact that you don't get it all paid off. You know, they're doing these 3-month and 6-month programs. They're counting on that. And what they basically say, remember, here's how it goes. If you make your payment if you pay it off in that 6-month period or 12-month period, whatever it is, then there's no interest. If you don't get it paid off in that period, now you have to make your minimum payments on most of them, but if you don't get to pay it off, if you don't pay it off in that period, then what do? They make your interest retroactive to day one. So what they're doing is they're charging you interest all along the period. And then if you get it paid off in the pay later period, they just void that interest charge. If you don't, they apply that interest charge. So you're not getting a free lunch. They're banking on the fact that you didn't have the money today, otherwise you wouldn't have put it on that freebie for the most part. Some people do it just because it's fiscally intelligent, but a lot of people don't pay for it right now because what they're doing is they're just waiting on time. They're waiting for the timing to be right. So what your focus then becomes, if you don't get it paid, and that's what they're banking on, it's going to cost you more down the road. And I'll share with you a little story. Back in 2005, there was something called a 228 or a 327 loan. It was a subprime loan. Subprime loans were not bad as a loan product. The problem was human nature. So what do I mean by that? The subprime loan said, we're going to lend you the money on your real estate because you've got a lot of equity. We're going to lend you money on that for 2 years or 3 years at a higher interest rate than what might be the market rate. But we're going to pay off all of your debts. We're going to show you that if you get all those debts paid off, then 2 years from now or 3 years from now, that should help your credit score because you're not closing any of your credit cards. All you're doing is getting them paid off. So your utilization is going from 90, 100, 105, 110 down to 0 to 10. That could potentially increase your credit score. Again, potentially, we don't have an exact number, 150 points. Don't rack up the bills again. Wait for the 2 years. Go and buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks on a credit card and then pay it off. Or put your utility bills on a credit card and pay it off every single month. Get it paid off before the statement closing date. We've talked about that. You're going to do that on a regular basis. Because you're doing it for 2 years, your FICO scores are going or should skyrocket if you follow the plan. What was the trap in there? What was the problem? It was the consumer. The consumer, even though they had a game plan, they had a roadmap for increasing their scores, increasing their lendability, they would go out and they say, oh, I've got credit again, so I can go and rack up the bills. So the lenders would call them back. You know, if you've got a 24-month, it's a 228, which means you have the fixed rate for that 24-month, and then it would adjust. The lender, the loan officer, would call back after about 21 months and say, Mr. Jones, Mrs. Jones, whoever it might be, are you ready to start refinancing and get that lower rate? You know what the comment was the vast majority of the time? Mr. Loan Officer, I'm so sorry. I just couldn't resist, and I went to Nordstrom and I ran up my bills again. I don't have the credit that I thought I was going to have. I don't have the equity that I thought I was going to have. Can we just do another one of those 228 loans? Because they did not listen. Had they listened, they could have gone into conventional, most likely, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac financing. But they didn't. They went and ran the bills up again, and now they're in trouble again. Was that the lender's fault? No. It was the consumer. Same thing on these buy now, pay later programs. They're encouraging people to buy what you can afford. Don't worry about it. We'll deal with it later. Now, part of that is, like I say, fiscally responsible. If you can get somebody to give you money at no interest, why not? But you have to budget so that you've got it paid off before that balloon payment comes due. Throw that out there for you. That's very similar to what I'm saying. Not quite the same, but those of you that are paying rent, you look and say, well, I could never pay 8 or 9 or 10% interest on my home loan. Well, if you're paying 8 or 9 or 10% interest, there's still a portion of that home loan that's going to your principal, unless you have an interest-only loan or something like that. For the most part, there's still a portion that's going to the principal. The appreciation is still happening. So with all that being said, when you have rent, you have no appreciation and nothing going to principal. You're not growing your net worth at all. So when I talk to you about our investors that are coming out and saying, we've got programs that'll help you buy a house without having all of the traditional documentation, but it may cost a little extra. Guess when the word buying a house comes into that, guess who's getting the appreciation? You. Now, I can tell you what the historical appreciation is. Cannot guarantee future appreciation because we don't have a crystal ball that can guarantee that. Don't know. But if we look at what is the 5-year, 10-year, 63-year appreciation levels for property in a given area, we can come up with a pretty good idea, pretty good indication of what these things are. Just want to throw that out there for you so that you have an understanding of why it may not be a bad idea for your fiscal situation to get involved in some of these non-traditional financing that investors will do one-on-one with you. If you want to be put on a list to be updated when these properties come available, RJ at ronsiegelradio.com.